going to show you my best way to get your cooking skill to level 250 in New World. This can be done at any level and does not need you to have any starting gold. You should actually, if you do this for long enough in one go, you'll probably end up making gold on this as you go through the leveling process. To start with then, the place that we want to go to is the Marauder Shrine fast travel point. This is where the low level area for Everfall is. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to fast travel there now. And we're going to head down to this new beginner's beach right here. About 80% of what we need is already down there. Once we've made our way down to the beach, we basically just want to gather all of the interesting stuff. What do I mean by this? First off, we need to be gathering the boars. These are actually going to make it so that we don't have to go anywhere else, because this is going to give us pork. Pork is a tier 1 cooking food. This is going to be good for the very early meals that we need to make. So we want to be doing the boars, but the other important thing about the boars is that they are also dropping us the rawhide, and we're going to sell the rawhide to buy the other ingredients that we need. In fact, one of the ingredients we need comes from wolves, and they are considerably slower to harvest, in my opinion. But the meat that they provide is actually cheaper than the rawhide. So every time you get a rawhide there, you're actually getting the red meat that we need to continue doing the cooking. Now, when you see these berry bushes, make sure you pick these up every time. We're going to store these for some of the other tiers of meals we're going to get. They're actually very easy to get here. There are a lot of them around as we're going around in our little circle here. And they are technically a tier 3 cooking ingredient, and they're very abundant, so that means we can get plenty of those in so we can get onto the next tier of meal as we're going around. And as you can see, as we are making our way around, we are also harvesting the herbs. This is going to give us seasonings. We don't need these immediately, but later on you can do a couple of things with them. They're good for some of the meals. In addition to that, we can also sell them for some extra gold if we end up needing to, but you shouldn't need to, because we are going to be selling the rawhide to make the money so we can get things that we don't need. And like I say, you'll end up profiting anyway, because most of the ingredients are cheaper than the rawhide, apart from some really expensive ones at the end. So we're just going to go around, kill all of the boars. We want to go in literally in just a circle, so we're not going to go up to the left. We're going to come up towards the cliff, as you can see. Take the right hand side over here and just keep on harvesting everything, okay? Fill your inventory. Obviously, the bigger your inventory capacity is, the less trips you'll have to make. But we just want to go around, skin the boars, harvest the herbs, and gather the berries. At this stage, when we are kind of at the level 1 to 50 point, you simply cannot have enough of any of this, so make sure you are just gathering plenty. I ended up spreading mine out between 2 different storages so they could get enough materials to be crafting each of the stages, but just keep on cycling around. It's a grind, obviously, but like I say, this is not going to cost you any gold, and as you are selling the rawhides, gold should make its way to you. For a while of filling your inventory, you should have a selection of ingredients like this. So we should have some pork, and we should have some berries. Now, technically, this isn't the complete story, because to start cooking, we actually need to get hold of red meat. This drops from predators all over the game, and is technically easy to go and get yourself if you want to hunt down a load of wolves. But one thing stops me from suggesting that, and that is those boars I just think are way, way quicker and easier to farm than most of the creatures in the rest of the game. They seem to respawn faster, they seem to respawn close to each other, and there's nobody contesting them. The other thing that prevents me from doing this is the fact that currently on my server, we can get away with placing a buy order for around 15 pence, right? 0.15 gold. And even if you was to take this, right? If we were to buy it at 1 gold a piece, I can sell all of my rawhide and then put the money that we get from the rawhide to have that red meat come to us instead of us going to the red meat. The advantage of this is that means that we can get the red meat rolling in, we can return back, continue getting the rawhide and the other ingredients that we've been getting, and make the progression of a lot of this very, very easy. I got mine done in less than a day, so, you know, as long as you don't upset the market too much and start making things too expensive for yourself, this should not be too difficult to follow. With all of that said, the game gets you to do your first light ration automatically, so we are going to be skipping down to the travel ration. This is what we want to get to level 50 with, and we need to make 85. So this is where we start getting into some numbers, right? So we need 85 times 3, which is going to be 255 of the red meat. So that's what we need to place our buy order for, and we also need a tier 1, which we've already been gathering because we've been doing the pork. So you want to make this 85 times, and that is going to take you to 50. In the auction house, put this on, and then what I would probably do is go back and get the next set of materials from where we were doing the farming of the pork and the rawhide, because that's going to feed the next tier that we're going to talk about just in a second, and then just keep on cycling it that way. We're going to sell the rawhide, purchase the red meat, use the pork as our tier 1 food, which is just going to keep us rolling forward. 85 of these is going to take you to level 50. At level 50 then, we now unlock the light meal. The cool thing about this for us is that we were already farming the tier 3 ingredient. So we already have this. We've already been buying the red meat, and we also already have access to the pork. And this is why that area is such a good shortcut for reaching the maximum level of cooking. And right now we are looking to reach level 100, and for that we need to make 170 light meals. So we need to times 170 by 3. That's going to give us, if my math is correct, that's going to give us 510 of each of these. And as you can see, just in one quick run, I was already there with the berries, so we are completely fine. You'd go back, do your second set of pork, and you've already bought the red meat, and we're going to make 170 of the light meals. That's going to take you to level 100 in cooking. So level 100 done, probably in 2 to 3 runs, should not be too much of an issue. Getting from 100 to 150 is actually probably the slowest part of this. The last part is all one meal and is much easier to do than this one. And that's because from here, we need tier 4 foods. And the issue with these is we either have to get fish, and they're rare fish, you can see they're all blue, or we have to get some of these ingredients that either come from farms or come from provision crates. These are really slow to get on your own. And so again, the best way to get these is to put on a buy order. Now, I'm not going to tell you which one to get. I used wheat, and that has upset the server a little bit. It was 1.5 gold for 1 wheat when I started. I bought a load. I got like 1,200 of it. And now people are trying to sell it for like 20 gold because they think it's popular and it's important for something, right? So be careful about what you do. There's only a few you should really check. Check these white ones. Okay, so check cauliflower, check delicate fish fillet, check lemon, check wheat, check broccoli, and orange, and just put a buy order on for the amount that you need to reach the next tier, which is around 820, because we need to make 239 of these satisfying meals, and that's again going to be times by 3. So yeah, 720, so it is quite a bit. Obviously I bought way too much because I was kind of panicking about not having enough. I wanted to make sure I got there, but 720 should be the right amount. And then yes, as you can see, the ingredients that we've already been gathering and purchasing previously should be covering you for this. Obviously you'll need to put the red meat back on for an additional 720, which is why I said we want to keep on selling the rawhide so we can keep on getting the materials that we need without having to go and do most of this ourselves. That brings us to 150, which now unlocks for us the hearty meal. This can now all be tier 1 stuff, or whichever it is that you have the most of. So again, I would pretty much default into putting in the ingredients that we've already been getting. Now, you should have already been picking up seasonings. It's entirely up to you if you want to use the ones you've been picking up. This could take a long time to get enough because we have to make a lot of these. Or for me on my server, honey was quite cheap to get. Again, if we untick this owned thing, you can see all of the different seasonings. So you can go onto your marketplace, check which one's the cheapest, put yourself a buy order on there. Honey was for me. All right, we're gonna have to do this meal for 2 steps of this because from 200 to 250 is pretty much going to be the same meal, but there are some options we'll talk about in a second. So I would purchase honey. Again, try not to go over 1.5 to 2 gold for each item that you're purchasing, and that should realistically be all you have to purchase. We'll call it an option for the tier 5 material. That's because rice on my server was cheap to buy, so I purchased rice. But bananas are also actually quite easy to farm and accessible pretty much early on in the game if you want to go ahead and grab some, because these are farmable outside of Pridwin Town. If you go below this cliff right here, you can be harvesting bananas. It's not going to be terribly fast, so if you want to do this like mega quick, maybe again you could look at some T5 buy orders, but we're already buying quite a lot using the rawhide. If you feel like your rawhide's going real quick and you've got spare money, you can obviously buy some tier 5 materials, but you get a good amount of bananas out here, which is in Monarch's Bluff, not too difficult to get to. Or if you have access to it, there is also the Moon Bay Village, which is in the Restless Shores. For some reason I don't have borders on my game right now, don't know why it's done that. If you come out any of these entrances directly from the town, you've got bananas everywhere, so just keep on chopping down the banana trees, and if you want you can can sell the green wood as well to speed things up for yourself. And that's going to give you your tier 5 food material. We are going to need to make 254 of these. So times that by 3, that's going to give us around 762. If my arithmetic is correct. So 762 of everything that you need. Bananas actually isn't too bad, 762, that's okay. Purchase whichever is the cheapest seasoning. Honey was cheap for me. And then, again, we should already be grabbing the pork, the red meat, and the berries to fill the rest of the slots. Technically, we're doing this with things that are higher tier than they need to be, but we're getting them so easily, it doesn't really matter to us that we are using them that way. And as said before, we need to make 254 of those. That brings us to a little bit of a crossroad. Technically at 205 is the crossroad. So you might want to make a few extra of these just to get to 205. But you can either decide to make another 363 hearty meals, which is entirely doable. That was how I did it. Or you can start making things like the seasoning blends and the sausages so that you can start getting into some of the other recipes that we have. Because at 205, as you can see, we're going to start getting the stat bonus recipes, which you can probably sell. They're not even on our marketplace very much right now. And as you can see, we already have access to bananas. Milk isn't difficult. We already said honey is not difficult to get. We already have the money to put a buy order on for lemons. Blueberries, I could show you where they are if we needed to. And then nutmeg is just a seasoning that we have to get, as you can see, from Weaver's Fen, Reekwater, or Windswood, nice and early. All we need to do for that is harvest the blue herb plants we were doing over in Everfall, and that's going to give you nutmeg. So you could probably end up putting this together and selling this if you wanted to, but I think that's overall going to be slower than just continuing on with the hearty meal process. So it's just going to be this again, but 363 times instead of 254. It's going to take a few runs, probably 10 to 12. It really won't take that long, especially if you're selling the rawhide, but that will get you to max cooking and allow you to start doing whatever it is that you want with all of the different recipes.